Friends say, Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidway Gadadha, Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhaktavinda Gajaya, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan, Shai Makunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Kijaya. Vrindavanam ki jai, Machuradam ki jai, Jagadasami ki jai, Yamunamai ki jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tirumani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharni Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deja Tarni. So, Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna. So, Om Gana Sivananda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigadave Namaha. So, we are going to read the Caitanya Bhagavata by Vrindavan Das Thakur. We've been reading this every morning as we travel. I mean, normally we'll do the Chaitanya, normally it's Bhagavatam, but since I've been traveling, I just do this because it's the same time I do it every day according to the U.S. time. So, on that happy note, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Okay, so we are reading from the second chapter of the Adi Kanda of the Caitanya Bhagavata about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And so this is leading up to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world. And Vrindavan Das Thakur, who was the Veda Vyas of Chaitanya's Leela, is giving us the background here of what it was like in Navadvip before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So, thank you. That's very kind. So we're going to start reading from text 66. That's where we were before. Dhananashta kare putra kanyara vibhaya emata jagatera vyarta kalayaya. If you actually have the Veda base in your phone, this is on the Veda base or in the Veda base. So this is Bengali, of course. And so the commentaries of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and we're not going to be reading all the commentaries because some of them are quite lengthy and they're repetitive. So translation, people squandered money on the marriages of their sons and daughters. In this way, they wasted their human lives. This is what we talked about yesterday, but I just wanted to reiterate. So in the commentary, it says, some people consider family life as the goal of life, and thus they spend large sums on the marriages of their sons and daughters. In this way, they increase the happiness of those who are averse to Lord Hari. This is politically incorrect here. Anyway, we should speak about this. They concluded that getting their daughters and sons married is far better than worshiping the Supreme Lord. And in this way, they simply wasted their time in mundane affairs. Of course, getting people married can be Krishna conscious too. It's not that it's averse to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the point is like lavish stuff. You know, lavish?
Yeah. Extravagant.
Extravagant. I mean, I've had instances of people who went into debt for 30 years to cut mortgages in their houses and had to work until they were 80 years old, 85 years old, in order to pay for their daughter's marriage. How much did your marriage cost?
A couple of $1,000.
And it lasted.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, see, that's not a good answer.
No, it is good.
You know, so much money is spent. And actually, if you have that much money, better just give it to the married couple so they can kickstart their married life, right? I mean, it's just like, what are you doing? And the reason people do it is because of reputation, right? And they fly people in from all over the world. Hundreds of people, put them all up for the night. And it can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Isn't it?
Yes.
You have to look forward to that one.
No. Do it in the temple, do that.
Just do a Gandharva marriage. It's actually cheaper. Gandharva marriage is where the couple just exchanges garlands, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or Rakshasa marriage is even better,
It's better, yes.
where the boy kidnaps the girl. It's bona fide. Krishna did it, Arjuna did it. So then you don't spend any money. So anyway, it's interesting. I mean, nowadays about the Rakshasa marriage, where they kidnap, you know, it's interesting. That generally a remnant of that in modern society is where people after the marriage they drive away in the car and there's tin cans in the car.
Yeah. Yes.
And the car
Yeah.
is all decorated.
Yeah, just married. Yeah.
That's a modern day remnant of a Rakshasa marriage.
Yes. It's true.
So anyway, so let's continue. Yeah. Text 67. Yeva Vatacharya Chakravarti Mishra Sabha Taharao Najane Sabha Granta Hanubhav. Even the so-called scholars, the Bhattacharyas, Chakravartis, and Mishras, of course these are Bengali names for Brahmins. You know, elsewhere it'd be Sharma, Trivedi, and other things like that. Did not know the real purport of the scriptures. And I'm going to skip that purport. So text 68. Shastra Padaya Sabe Ekrama Kare Shrotara Sakite Yama Pashe Duvimare. And even after teaching the scriptures, the teachers still engaged in such activities. In other words, just material activities. As a result, both the teachers and the students were punished by Yamaraj. Wow. Text 69. Navakane Yugadharma Krishnera Kirtana Dosha Bina Gunakaro Nakale Katana. They never explained the religious principle for the age. Chanting the holy names of the Lord, they only found faults with others. They never glorified anyone. Long purport. So text 70. Yeva Saba Virakta Tapasvi Abhimani Tansavara Mukheha Nahiko Haridwanhe. All the so-called renunciates and ascetics never chanted the names of Hari. In other words, they were proud of their asceticism. Text 71. Ativada Sukati Se Snanera Samaya Govinda Pundarikaksha Namo Chareha. Only the most pious people would recite the names of Pundarikaksha, that means Krishna was lotus eyes, and Govinda at the time of taking bath. Text 72, Gita Bhagavata Ye Janeti Padaya Bhakti Tira Vyakyana Naki Tahara Jiyumoya. Even when someone explained the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, they would not mention anything about devotional service to the Lord. Interesting. Text 73. E Mata Vishnu Maya Mohita Sangsara Deki Bhakta Sava Dukha Bhavena Pura. Seeing the entire world illusioned by the Lord's external energy in this way, all the devotees felt unlimited distress. Text 74. Kamane Jiva Sava Paive Udara Vishaya Suketi Sava Majila Samsara. They thought, how will these people be delivered? The whole world is simply absorbed in material enjoyment. Bali leo keha nahi laya Krishna nama niravadi vidyakula karena vidyakyana. People will not chant the names of Krishna even if they are instructed. Rather, they constantly glorify their education and good birth. Text 76. Swakarya Karena Saba Bhagavata Gana Krishna Puja Ganga Snana Krishnara Katana. The great devotees, however, following their prescribed duties like worshipping Krishna, bathing in the Ganges, and discussing topics of Krishna. Text 77. Sabe mele jagatere pare ashirvada shigura Krishna Chandra Kara sabare prasada. They all bestowed their blessings on the people of the world and prayed, "Oh, Krishna Chandra, please quickly bestow mercy on these people." So, say Navadvipe Vase, Vaise, Vaishnava Gra Kanta, Advaita Charya Nama, Sarvaloka Danya. Residing in Navadvipa at that time was Advaita Charya, the topmost Vaishnava, who was glorified throughout the world. Text 79. Jnana Bhakti Vairagyera Guru Mukhya Tara Krishna Bhakti Vakanite Yena Shankara. Sri Advaitacharya was the most respected teacher. He was as expert as Lord Shiva in explaining the devotional service of Lord Krishna with knowledge and renunciation. Text 80. Tribhuvane acheyata shastrayara vachara sarvatra vakhane Krishna padavati sara. He explained all the scriptures that are found in the three worlds and concluded that devotional service to the lotus feet of Krishna is the essence of all teachings. So text 81. Tulasi manjari sahita ganga jale niravadi seve krishnae mahakutuhale. Sri Advaitacharya would enthusiastically worship Krishna with tulasi manjaris and Ganges water. Text 82. Hunkara Karye Krishna Ave Shira Teje Wali Brahmanda Vedi Vaikunte Dipaje. He loudly called for Krishna in great spiritual ecstasy. That sound vibration pierced the covering of the universe and was heard in the Vaikuntha planets. Text 83. Ye primera hunkara shuni na Krishna nata mokhi oshe apane ye haila sakshad. On hearing Advaita Prabhu's cries of love, Lord Krishna personally appeared, for he is controlled by the love of his devotees. Text 84. Ataiva Dvaita Vaishnava Agraha Ganja Nikhila Brahmande Yanra Bhakti Yoga Danya. Therefore, Advaitacharya is the best of all Vaishnavas. There is no comparison to his devotional service in the entire universe. So it's interesting here how Advaitacharya is considered the best of all Vaishnavas, and why is that? In these particular verses, due to the logic of him being very compassionate. And that's how you can measure the advancement of a Vaishnava. You can't measure the advancement of a Vaishnava from observing, let's say, externally, let's say even how many verses he knows. We were talking about this yesterday. We gave the example of my godbrother Jayananda, who couldn't recite any verses. He didn't even know how to recite his Gayatri mantra. Prabhupada tried to teach him the Gayatri mantra, and Prabhupada said, it's hopeless. Just remember me, you remember Prabhupada. And he was a great devotee. Prabhupada indicated he went back to Godhead. So you can understand. But his quality, talking about Jayananda, right now, was compassion for everyone. He would stay up all night. You know, the way he exhibited compassion is that he would distribute tons of prasadam. And he would stay up all night cooking to distribute prasadam the next day at some festival. And he would make friends with the lowest people, you know, and we're going to say low or high. People who are drunkards, people who are VUMS, they use that word, street people. You have to speak politically correct nowadays. You can't say bums. Isn't it? And you know, people won't accept that. People who are home challenged. You can't even say homeless. They're home challenged. Homeless. Yeah, you don't want to say homeless. You want to say they're challenged economically. So anyway, but he would go to these people and they loved him. It's described that when he was collecting money for Rath Yatra, he'd go to the bars and his friends were all there. Not that he was drinking with them, but his friends were all there. And after he passed away, everyone was asking, where's that Johnny Ananda? You know, Johnny Ananda. They call him, yeah. So really, his exalted position was known by his compassion, you know. Vanchakalpa Turubhisha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha. And we can see similar characteristics, or of course to a greater degree, with his divine grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. You know, because he had so much compassion, he was able to deal with the Malechas and the Yavanas and the Rakshasas and the whatever they were in New York. And turn them from hippies, as Prabhupada said, to happies. And his godbrothers actually criticized, some of his godbrothers, criticized him. They said, oh, you like to hang out, you know, you like to be with these people. But it wasn't a question of liking or not liking. It was a question of Prabhupada's compassion. And we see Lord Nityananda also exhibited that same mood of compassion. You know, Jagat Malay, the Tata Shakshay Jagat Malay. There's many other examples of that with Lord Nityananda. I mean, there's that story about Lord Nityananda and the thieves. You know the story? No. And once upon a time, Lord Nityananda was in Navadvip, and he was doing kirtans in someone's house every night. And as he was doing kirtans, of course, he had a lot of jewelry on. So he was an object of thievery. People wanted to steal from him. So this gang of thieves who worshipped the goddess Chandi, that's Durga, they were actually performing puja for Durga and thinking, we want to steal from him, please give us the energy. So they were doing so much puja, they fell asleep during the puja. And so one night they lost. So the next night they were thinking, we can't do puja all night long. And so what happens the next night, they arrived where Lord Nityananda was staying, and Lord Nityananda was surrounded by all these bodyguards, like 10 foot tall, Vaikuntha guards who were chanting Hare Krishna. They said, well, that's not for us. So they waited about 10 more days, and they worshipped the goddess Chandi again. And they came back, and as they were attempting to go near the house, there was a violent storm. It's described like basically there were pus and blood coming down, and they became blinded. And they all fell into ditches, and they were bitten by all these different creatures, whatever it was. And then the chief dacoit, he started to pray to Lord Nityananda, and then he got his sight back, he surrendered to Lord Nityananda, he became a great devotee. Wow. So you see the Vaishnavas here. So many times we as, let's say, neophytes, we criticize people who are not Krishna conscious. In other words, we just say, oh, they're going to suffer from Yamaraj. Isn't it? You become happy to see someone suffer. Just like I was seeing, there's a, it's called retribution or whatever. There's a war going on right now. So many wars going on, isn't it? And so, of course, anyway. So in Gaza, they attacked the Israelis, and they cut off the heads of babies and everything like that, horrible thing. And then the Israelis, they tried to, retribution, and then, bombing whole cities. So it's not that one side is right and the other side is wrong. They're both wrong. Because, what do they say? Oh yeah, in the Bible, the Jewish Bible, it says, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So if you apply that principle, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, the whole world will be blind and they will need dentures. So there has to be, compassion for others. Like it's described here that Advaitacharya and the Vaishnavas were being criticized, yet they didn't curse those who were criticizing them. They actually prayed for them. That's a Vaishnava. Someone hits you on one cheek, you turn the other cheek. Haridas Thakur. There's so many examples that we can cite. So that's how you can actually judge the advancement. That's the point I'm making. Judge the advancement of a Vaishnava. And even we hear at other times that Lord Shiva is the topmost devotee. Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. It's interesting so many times we hear that this devotee is the topmost devotee, that devotee is the topmost devotee, that devotee, huh? But in the spiritual realm, everyone can be the topmost devotee. It's not a question of comparative, like superlative, whatever. It's just that everyone is the topmost there. And basically, so Lord Shiva, he saved the whole universe by drinking the poison. That's why he has a blue throat. So that's exhibition of his compassion. Lord Shiva is so compassionate that in his temple, in his ashram, he has all these ghosts and goblins and witches and all sorts of creatures that are unimaginable. That's compassion. So when people see that Prabhupada came to the Western world and dealt with, all sorts of druggies or whatever he dealt with, that is a glorification of Prabhupada. So this is why Advaitacharya said here, as the topmost devotee in the entire universe. This is very important. He's also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we continue reading here. Emata Advaita Vaisena Nadhiyaya Bhakti Yoga Shunya Loka Deki Dukkha Poya. In this way, Advaitacharya resided in Nadia in great distress due to people's lack of devotion. Actually, I just want to comment on one. Yeah, it was distressful. So one thing I want to comment on is that part of being compassionate is being tolerant. Like we hear from Lord Kapil. Oh, there you are. The biggest preacher in Western Sydney. So anyway, the most compassionate. Anyway, as commented on by Lord Kapila Dev, give you the quality of a Vaishnava, the first thing he says is Titikshava. A Vaishnava is tolerant. Because before you can be Karunika, which is the second quality, Titikshava Karunika, then you have to be tolerant. So that means in spite of people acting crazy, in spite, and I have that experience with many of my disciples, it's not, it's not an ethnic thing. From across the spectrum, whether they're from India or Fiji or from America, still many of them. I'm not talking about crazy in the sense of, having to go to a mental institution, but it's like nunam pramata kurate vikarma. They consider their senses to be very dear. Yadindriya pritya apranoti. So anyway, we have to tolerate. It's a lesson. It's a lesson. When we're dealing with people and they just, you just can't believe it. I mean, certain things I just can't believe that people do. It's like, what? You did what? I'm not going to give you an example because it'll be too pointed. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So anyway, I just have to remain compassionate, loving, and do my best to try to help people become Krishna conscious, isn't it? And so, anyway, that's an important lesson. And Advaitacharya was doing that. So, okay, here. Actually, the commentary says, in order to benefit materialistic persons, Sri Advaita Prabhu displayed the pastime of worshipping Krishna while residing in Mayapur. The pathetic condition of those who were averse to Hari caused excessive pain to his heart. Wow. That's a Vaishnava. Para, dukkha, dukhi. Very important principle. So here's another text. Text 86. Sakala sangsara mata vyavahara rase Krishna puja, Krishna bhakti, karuna ivase. Everyone in the entire world was engaged in materialistic activities. No one was engaged in worshiping or serving Krishna. And a commentary, we'll read the commentary. Whether scholar, fool, child, elder, or woman, everyone in Navadvip at that time was absorbed in the 5 types of sense gratification. Actually, I guess that's the 5 senses. None of them had any taste for constantly serving the worshipable Lord Krishna with their senses. People's tastes were so perverted, they were simply interested in worldly activities with no inclination for the worship of Lord Hari. So, text 87. Vashule pujhaye keha nana upahare Majam Hansha Diya Yaksha Puja Kare. Some people worshipped Vakshuli, that's Chandi or Durga, with various ingredients, and some people worship the Rakshas with meat and wine. Ooh, sounds like Fiji. It's like in Fiji. Some of you are not from Fiji, so you may not know, but they actually have at the mandalis where they're worshiping Lord Ram, supposed to be worshiping Lord Ram. They spend a little while worshiping Lord Ram, and afterwards they drink this drink called kava. Yes. And they just remain in a stupor for the rest of the night. So they're not actually worshiping Lord Ram, they're worshiping the kava. Because if there was no kava, nobody would come. Some devotees were telling me the story that, sometimes they have a funeral for one of their family members, and people come to offer their respects, and they say, "Where's the kava?" And then they just leave without offering their respects. Yeah. Or they go to a marriage, there's no kava at the marriage, I'm not going to that marriage. Crazy. Anyway, and then as far as the Pitra Poksh, which we're celebrating right now, they offer all these things to the forefathers. Isn't it?
Yes.
Wine, and not only wine, but cigarettes.
Yes.
To the forefathers. And that's why the forefathers are in hell.
and make sure they still do it.
Because they were taking wine and cigarettes, and they just make sure they stay there. And I said something funny the other day. I was thinking, should they leave a cigarette lighter there? And I said, no, because where they are, there's the cigarettes. They don't have to light them. Little humor there. So text. But people were doing that, especially in Bengal. They were really into this. Even today, they have Durga Puja. They eat meat and they do all sorts of crazy things during Durga Puja. Text 88. Nirvadi Nritya Gita Vajakula Gala Nashune Krishnera Nama Parama Mangala. People would constantly dance, sing, and play musical instruments in great commotion, but they never heard the supremely auspicious names of Krishna. Text 89. Krishna Shunya Mangale Devaranagi Sukha Vishesha Dvaita Mane Paya Bada Dukkha. The devotees headed by Advaitacharya were distressed on seeing the people engaged in so-called auspicious activities that were not related to Krishna. In other words, they didn't condemn them. Same thing there. They were distressed. Just like another example of that is that when Shukadeva Goswami was explaining what's in the 5th canto to Maharaj Parikshit about all the hells, Maharaj Parikshit, he got very distressed. And he wasn't thinking, oh, they deserve it. He was thinking, how can they be saved? Whoops. What's that for?
Just charging the...
Oh, charging. How can they be saved from the Yamadutas? And Shukadeva Goswami gave some false answers to test his disciple at the beginning. He said, by atonement. But atonement doesn't save you because you still have the desire to perform that activity. And Maharaj Parikshit compared that to Kundra Shotra, which means an elephant bathed. An elephant bathes and it throws dirt on itself. So eventually Shukadeva Goswami came to the right answer. He said, Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnu Jagamangalam Angazam Mahatama Vikoravya Vijaykantika Nishkritam. That only by Sankirtan, by the chanting of the Lord's holy names, which is the most auspicious activity done by all the great souls. So, then Parikshit Maharaj was happy to hear that, because that's really the point. So anyway, let's one more verse. Krishna Shunya, yeah, we read that already. Devotee, Krishna Shunya Mangala, we read that. So, next verse, text 90. Swabhave Advaita Bala Karunya Hridya Jivera Udara Chinte Hayasadaya. By nature, the heart of Advaitacharya was full of compassion, so he mercifully contemplated how to deliver the living entities. Text 91. Mora Prabhu Hasiyare Karyavatara Tabihaya E Sakala Jivera Udara. If my Lord descends, then all these fallen souls will be delivered. And one or two more verses. We can take questions. Text 92. Tabeta Dvaita Singha Amara Badhai Vaikuntha Balava Yadi Dikana Etai. My name, Advaita Singha, that means the lion, Advaita, will be justified when I cause the descent of the beloved Lord of Vaikuntha. Text 93. Aniya Vaikuntha Nata Sakshat Kariya Nachiva Gaiva Sarva Jiva Udarya. I will make the Lord of Vaikuntha appear in this world, and we will dance, chant, and thus deliver the fallen living entities. So, that's Lord Chaitanya. So, any questions or comments?
Yes, we just asked what you were saying there earlier about, how there's conflict in the world, and the Vaishnavas are compassionate, and, turn the other cheek sort of concept.
Yeah.
So, but we understand that, when the Mahabharata was on, Krishna was saying, Arjuna, you've got to fight. So how do we balance the two thinking?
Well, first of all, several things that we should understand. The fighting was only between the soldiers on a battlefield. It's not that they said, well, let's have the fight in Hastinapur and destroy the city. No, that's a militia war, where you destroy and kill innocent women and children, or innocent men. It's a fight between soldiers. It's chivalrous. When there's a fight between soldiers for a religious war, those who die being defeated, they actually go to heaven, as we know from the Bhagavad Gita. And those who live can enjoy the kingdom, but the citizens are not involved in this at all. That's one point. Second thing is, with the Mahabharata war, there was no alternative. Krishna tried his best to make some peace. Duryodhana would not even offer 5 villages or 5 pieces of land that you could fit under the head of a pin. He was adamant. And then, thirdly, this was an interplanetary battle. The demons had taken birth on the earth, and it was Krishna's plan, as Kshatriyas, it was Krishna's plan to get rid of them. So, and another thing is when the demons are killed, they reincarnate as new demons pretty quickly. Like you see, Kamsa, he was Kalanemi in the past and was killed by Vishnu, isn't it? Yeah. And Vipachitti, he became Jarasandha, and he was killed. So you have all killed like demons. So you have all these personalities. It's just not ordinary people fighting at this particular point, and it's not a war of retribution. What we see now. Both sides. It's hard to say that. I know it may not be politically correct, but it's hard to say one side's right, one side's wrong. You go back, you look at the history, the years. There's this tension that's been building up. And I don't want to take a stand in mundane things like that. It's just like, of course, I don't like what's going on both sides, that people are getting hurt. You read the news and, sometimes they go to the babies and they cut their heads off. It's just unacceptable. But these are people that need compassion, both sides. They need compassion. Your light is on. So that's a Vaishnava, that's the hallmark of a Vaishnava. That even if a Vaishnava is attacked, they'll find some way, like Haridas Thakur being whipped in so many marketplaces, they'll find some way to save them, attempt to save them. You see this in so many cases. You have Jesus Christ on the cross. There's innumerable examples. Lord Nityananda getting hit in the head by Madai. And the example I gave before about Lord Nityananda had with these thieves. There's so many examples of Vaishnavas. And their unlimited compassion. And they never hate anyone. Ajata Shatra, there's that whole verse which I didn't complete by Lord Kapila. Tatikshivak, tolerant, Karunika, full of mercy, Surada Sarvadeyanam, they're a friend to everybody, all living entities. Surada Sarvadeyanam. Ajata Shatra, one whose enemy is never born. Isn't it? Sadhava, Sadhushana, Shanta, they're peaceful. That's a Vaishnava. Vaishnava is not attempting to get even with someone who attacks him. Important point. Yeah. But, sometimes a war may be necessary. One of the wars, perhaps if there was World War II, where the Germans were, killing millions and millions of people. What can you say? It was necessary. It was necessary. And so many innocent people got hurt too. Of course, innocence is another thing. If you talk karmically, nobody's innocent. But, basically, even in America years ago, when we had our Revolutionary War, it wasn't fought in the cities. It was fought in battlefields. We won, we defeated the British.
Yeah.
In Australia, we never defeated the British.
We never fought. Compassionate.
We were born. No. Just a bunch of criminals. Not all of you, because you're not from Australia originally. Yeah. But, so it was fought on battlefields. The main point was fought on battlefields. You don't hear so much about the soldiers going into the city and raping and pillaging the cities, do you? You just don't hear about that. And, originally in India, all the battles were fought like that. Of course, when the invaders came in, it was a different thing. Then you had all these massacres. Even the British, there was that one massacre, I forget the name, where they shot all the citizens.
Yeah, in the park.
Yeah, in the park, so. And the Mughals, they killed 80 million Hindus just for the sake of killing Hindus. These are modern wars. But there used to be respect for the citizens. Okay. So, I think it's time to end. You have questions?
Oh, yes. I have two.
Yeah, quick.
The first one is, so how do we develop, if we feel that we're lacking in those Vaishnava qualities, how do we develop?
We associate with those who have that compassion. Vaishnava is so tolerant. You see, Prabhupada was so tolerant in many different ways. You can understand that when Prabhupada was carrying out his mission, you can listen carefully. Many days Prabhupada was sick, and he just pushed himself to continue preaching. You know, at that age, you know, probably, of course, I'm the same age. Anyway, but you know, I'm in pretty good health, so it's a different thing. But Prabhupada had this health challenge. He had heart attacks and everything like that. Imagine, I mean, most people have heart attacks. You go to the hospital and, you know, several months recuperation, right? It's amazing. And then 2 serious heart attacks on the boat coming over, and then Prabhupada just like continues his mission. And Prabhupada was having pain, Prabhupada was hearing bum, 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 you know, in his ears. And he didn't stop. He didn't stop because of his compassion and his love for his spiritual master. Those 2 things. So if we actually have some love for the spiritual master and compassion, well, that compassion comes from love for the spiritual master, then at that point, then we can develop more and more compassion and be tolerant. Okay? That's an intelligence platform.
How practical is it though that say we're Vaishnavas and we are compassionate, tolerant, but there is that element of defense if you're directly attacked though, right?
Depends. It depends on the situation. You know, we see many examples of people directly attack and they don't attack back. And what I've seen is even if you try to defend yourself, not even attacking, it makes it worse.
Yeah, defensive.
Yeah, it just means it puts it in people's. I mean, it makes it more prominent, especially on the internet, because now we have the internet. Every time you post a defense, you get doubly attacked. So I see. Whatever, you know, someone attacks, make my day, you know. You know, obviously, if we're accused of something we didn't do, you know, it's our business to produce the evidence, but not on the internet. Court cases done on the internet are not very good court cases. So you know, we can defend ourselves privately or whatever, you know. And the people who we care about will believe us, and the people we don't care about won't believe us, you know, whatever. That's their issue, it's not our issue. We shouldn't be so concerned with the reputation. You know, like I said, reputation, and you got to spend so much money on marriages. Isn't it?
Marriages, weddings, yeah.
Isn't it? So much money. And just to show off for other people.
Prestige and status thing.
It's status thing, you know. What do you get out of it? Isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you get? It's gone. It's finished after 2 or 3 days. And your bank account's finished too. And you're finished. You know, spend some money. Yeah, like we said, Noah Dweck's marriage. Good marriage. $2,000. Fiji dollars. Fiji dollars, right?
I think that's overpriced for
I
that.
think Govinda Mani spent about 2, I spent about maybe 1.5, 2. Yeah,
But 2000.
That's too much.
well, that's a lot of money Fiji at that time.
Yeah.
Less than $1,000.
And it was a good marriage.
That was a lot of money then.
Yeah.
No cover. Otherwise it would be.
It's interesting to spend so much money on a marriage, but then in Fiji, when you give initiation, they give the guru $5 for you know, so the prestige is more important than their spiritual life.
100%.
It's funny. Okay, so we should end. We have to do our duty worship. Thank you all. And thank everybody online for joining us.